भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is video number 3 on Panchadasi of Bharati Tirtha Vidyaranya. Enquiry into the 5 elements. Pancha Mahabhuta Viveka Prakarana. First point is the triple method. It is the aim of the Panchadasi to establish the doctrine of the non-dual self through scriptural testimony, logical reasoning and intuitive experience. Unaided learning would be of no avail in the ascertainment of the Atma. Manana or rational reflection is an indispensable aid to the final realization. Even in interpreting scripture, there are 6 rules laid down which reveal the need for the exercise of active reasoning. Of the 6 marks, Sadlinga, determinative of purport, the last but not the least important characteristics sign is upapatti or demonstration in the light of reasoning. It is this rationalistic tendency which is at the same time not sundered from revealed intuition that makes for the uniqueness and excellence of Advaita. Advaita is really a faith that inquires. Bharati Tirtha Vidyaranya ably wields the weapon of the triple method of Srishti Yukti Anubhava, revelation, reasoning, experience. In the first chapter, he has demonstrated that the Atma is Satchitananda, timeless, real, self-luminous bliss. While the states of consciousness vary and vanish, consciousness per se remains constant and unchanging. That which is constant in whatever is variable, that is different from the letter as a string from the flowers strung thereon. The 3 states of empirical life are anything but permanent. They appear and disappear like pictures on a screen, but the fact that they are fleeting implies an underlying permanent reality. The Atma is the witness of the states of waking, dream and sleep. It is Avasthatraya Sakshi. Avidya obscures the true nature of the real. The self is confounded with the not self, the noumenal with the phenomenal, the eternal with the ephemeral. But as the reed is separated from the munja grass, the Atma can be discriminated from the obscurations of avidya. The materialist Charvaka considers the group physical body to be Atma, gross physical body to be the Atma. By some of the Charvakas, the sense organs are held to be the self. All of them mistake the non-real for the real. The Atma is not an epiphenomenon, an appendage of the body. It is neither a bundle of bones nor a mental process, neither a colony of cells nor a system of electrons, etc. However much the scientist may try to modify his conception of matter and interpret it in terms of force and energy, electrons and protons, he will not be able to bridge the gulf that yawns between matter and spirit. The self is not molecular motion or radioactivity. It is not only metaphysical but also metapsychical. However subtle mind may be, it is also material. Mind, like matter, is subject to origination and destruction and is sublated in the experience of deep sleep. That which comes into being at one time and goes out of existence another cannot be the absolutely real. The psychophysical organism is a superimposition upon the Atma and is a product of avidya. The theory that identifies the self with Anandmaya cannot be sound. It In samadhi, avidya is dispelled, and in sleep it becomes the object of cognition, hence it cannot be the Atma. The three bodies are not co-present with the Atma, and the Atma is not co-absent them. The self is contradicted by experience, for it is of the very nature even of him who contradicts. It is Dehatraya Vilaksana. Other than the three bodies, the causal, the subtle, and the gross, which are but unreal adjuncts to it. The real is non-dual. In the second chapter, Panch Mahabhutas Viveka Bharti Tirtha Vidyaranya follows up the same argument and demonstrates that the real is not the objective world, a product of the elements. Just as the Atma, which is mistakenly called the individual self, is neither the triple states of experience nor the three bodies, so also Brahma, which is wrongly characterized as the objective self, is neither an offshoot of elements nor a compound thereof. Bharti Tirtha Vidyaranya bases the argument and the conclusion of the second chapter on the scriptural text which says that in the beginning Sat existence alone existed, one only without a second. Sadeva Somaya idam agra asit ekam eva advitiyam. The Upanishad passage proclaims that prior to creation all this existed as the non-dual Satya. The entire cosmos, which is reached through the six ways of knowing, Paramanas, is denoted by the word this idam. The five elements with their distinctive properties, the cognitive and conative senses with their respective functions, the Antahakarana internal organ with its power of direction and control. All these are modifications of Maya, products of Prakriti. Mind is also material, psychics is inverted physics. The doctrine of behaviorism, though absurd to a large extent, is not without a modicum of truth. A scripture puts it, the manas is material, earthy, the prana is sustained by water, and speech is of the nature of light. The gross and the subtle universe is an illusory imputation on the Sat. It is a transfiguration vivarta of the real. Prior to the creation of this non-real superimposition, there was only the Sat, one without a second. Third point, the real relationless. The real is relationless. The Sat has neither external relations nor internal differentiations. It is unrelated to anything, for there is nothing else with which it can be related. Relations cannot be real since they can be neither of the nature of things nor of the nature of attributes. Were relations of the nature of things, there would be nothing to be related. If they are regarded as attributes, then these attributes must either be identical with or different from the things. If they are identical, then we are landed in the former alternative. If they are different, we must have a new relation between the thing and the ultimate, which is itself a relation, and this will involve us in the process of infinite regress. Omnis determinio est negatio. All determination is negation. The self, which is the most perfect being, cannot be delimited by determination and relations. To limit it is to finitize it. It has nothing of a like kind or of a different kind and has no internal verity. A A tree, for example, has the internal variety of foliage, flowers, and fruits, has the relation of similarity to other trees and of dissimilarity to objects of different kind of like stones. The Sat has no other thing which is similar to it or dissimilar to it, and has no internal differentiation. That the real is devoid of differences is asserted by the three words of scriptural passage: Ekam Eva Advitiyam, one only without a second. The Sat has no internal modes, for it is Satya has no internal modes, for it is not a whole of parts. Parts can be attributed only to the inert matter. The Sat is pure consciousness, Suddha Chaitanya. It is the indivisible unitary principle. Assuming that it is a whole of parts, we must inquire whether the parts are intelligent or inert. If they are intelligent, are they different or assuming Assuming that it is a whole of parts, we must inquire whether the parts are intelligent or inert. If they are intelligent, are they different or non-different from the Sati? They cannot be different, for the scriptural text which proclaim the one reality would then become invalid. If they are non-different from Brahman, they cannot be related to each parts to the whole. If the parts are held to be inert, then the Sat which is constituted by the parts must also be inert. That which is inert is subject to origination and decay, and hence cannot be Sat or real. This leads us to the absurd position of stating that the Sat is Asat, a glaring case of self-contradiction. The real is not a one in many and identity in difference. It cannot even be said that name and form are constituents of the Sat. The name Sat which is attributed to the real is for empirical purposes, for instruction which is through mortal words. Satta or Supreme Being is the highest category that the human mind can grasp. All that the finite intellect can say of the real is that it is Brahma, can have no form since it is immutable, eternal. Sat, Chit and Ananda being consciousness and bliss are not parts of Brahma. They reveal its nature. If they are parts, they must be mutually exclusive. When Sat is excluded from Chit and Ananda, it would be inert and miserable, and hence also as Sat. If consciousness were different from being and bliss, it would be non-being accompanied by misery, and so as, Chit or insentient. Sundered from Sat and Chit, Ananda would not be bliss but Dukkha, misery. Sat, Chit and Ananda are neither parts of Brahman nor its property. Names and forms cannot be the limits of the Sat, since prior to creation they are non-existent. The real is devoid of internal differences, and this is indicated by the word Ekam in the text. If particulars are only realia, there would be many reals of the same kind. The Sat cannot be many, for it would contradict the conclusions of scripture. If the Sat is really manifold, is it limited or unlimited? A limited real cannot be Sat, and an unlimited real can only be one. With determinations, the Sat cannot be. Without determinations, a plurality of reals cannot exist on the analogy of the three states, which we cannot argue that there are three reals corresponding to them. On account of Maya, the Sat appears to be split and divided, but reality it can have no other akin to it. It has no difference of the same kind. This is conveyed by the word eva, indicating emphasis. The Sat has no contradictory instance. Contradiction is mutual negation. The non-existence of pot in cloth and the negation of cloth by pot are cases of anyo, anyoya bhava, mutual exclusion. That in which there is the negation of another thing is the locus or anuyogi of that negation, and that of which there is negation is the partiyogi or the counter entity of negation. The cognition of non-existence, abhava, can result only from the knowledge of the anuyogi and Pratiyogi, to say that there is the non-existence of pot in the cloth, we must possess a knowledge of the pot and the cloth, both of which must be real. The counter entity of the Sat is Asat or unreality, like the son of a barren woman or the horns of a hare. An unreal entity cannot be the Pratiyogi of anything real. The Asat is incapable of being the counter entity of the Sat. There can be no opposition to the Sat of a non-existent and unreal thing. The word Asat may be taken to mean the gross and subtle universe, and it may be contended that the world is existent and so capable of being the Pratiyogi of the Sat. This contention will not bear scrutiny, since Maya and its effect are like the objects of a dream and reflection in a mirror, though non-real. They appear, but appearance is not reality. Subspecies aeternitis. The effects of Maya with their causes are unreal from the standpoint of the real. They are non-existent abhava. Hence, there can be no entity different from and opposite to the Sat. The Self has no heterogeneous difference, as well as this is asserted by the word Advaita and Upanishadic text. The Sat is one without a second. It has no genus. It possesses no properties, and it is unrelated to anything else. Point 4. Non-being is not the real. The Madhyamikas maintain that Asat existed in the beginning. Non-being is the source and solace of this world. The cosmic process is like an illusory wheel of fire, incapable of grasping the supersensuous and the supra-rational, dependent solely on inferential reasoning and discarding the intuitions of scripture. The nihilists concede that everything is void. They fail to recognize that there can be a real beyond the reach of speech and mind. The statement of the Chanda Yoga Upanishad, in the beginning there was non-existence, does not support the Madhyamika view. What is declared here is not that non-being is the parent of the world. The text simply means that the world of names and forms was not existent, that is, remained undifferentiated before creation. When it is said that non-being existed, does it mean that non-being is related to the real, or that it is itself real? In other cases, we are faced with a contradiction. Unreality cannot be associated with reality, and nor can it be itself real. Light can be neither dark nor coordinated with darkness. The Sat and Sunni are diametrically opposed to each other. The world of names and forms is a superimposition on the Sat. If the nihilist assert that the non-being is also a superimposition on the real, then he falsifies his own theory that nothingness is the ultimate category. The The Madhyamika may turn round and say that like non-being, the name, nama and form rupa of the Sat are also superimpositions on it, but this objection of his is unintelligible. The Sat has neither name nor form. Supposing that they are superimpositions on what are they superimposed? Are they superimpositions on the Sat or on the Asat or on the world? The Sat cannot be their locus. The name and forms of a thing are not superimposed on itself. The Nama and Rupa of silver are superimposed not on itself but on the nacre. The Asat cannot be the locus, for how can non-being be the substrate of anything? The world cannot be the locus of this superimposition because it is the effect and not the cause of the Sat. It cannot be maintained that the name and form of the real need not a locus whereon they can be superimposed. Nowhere do we see a delusion without a substrate. The theory of the Madhyamika that non-being existed was shown to involve contradiction. The Madhyamika now points out that even the statement Sat existed has serious discrepancies. Are Sat and existence two different categories or are they identical? If they are different, the doctrine of non-duality becomes false. If they are identical, then occurs the fallacy of idle repetition. Punyarukti. The Vedantin replies to this objection by saying that repetition is not uncommon in the assertions of man. Very often we use such expressions as he does a deed, he speaks a sentence, he wears his daily wear. To us who are accustomed to this kind of repetitive language, it is no fallacy on the part of scripture to instruct us in the same way as we talk. The next objection that the opponent raises is about the tense of verb used in the Upanishadic passage. The Sat existed in the beginning. How can there be a beginning for the real? The transcendent reality is beyond the measures of time, but for the sake of a disciple who is limited by temporal conditions, the Sat is spoken of as having existed prior to creation without any differentiations of name and form. In reality, the Sat is the eternal now. Both questions and answers are made in the language which belong to the realm of duality. In the language of non-dual spirit, there is no query nor is there any reply. The real is too deep for the mind to fathom, too great for words to describe. It is neither external light nor internal ignorance. It is not an object of the senses. It is the indefinable absolute. Admitting the non-reality of the earth and other objects because they are observed to change and perish, the opponent asks the Advaitin how ether also can be declared to be non-real. According to the Vaiseshika, the four elements earth, water, fire and air are atomic, but ether is indivisible and homogeneous. The rejoinder of the Advaitin is that however subtle ether may be, it is material and hence perishable. And the Siddhantin asks, if you are able to cognize the existence of ether without the earth, why does not your intelligence grasp the Sat without ether? Further, pure ether unrelated to the other four elements is not an object of experience, but the Sat is the most intimately experienced by the enlightened and the ignorant alike. No one doubts his own existence. The man in the street may not realize that the real is consciousness and bliss, but self-existence is experienced by all. The supreme reality is intuited with the utmost certitude in the serenity of silence. The experience of quietude cannot be a night of nothingness, for there one does not perceive non-existence or non-being. As the Atma is realized in its native purity in the state of silence, so also the Sat is intuited to be non-dual when the encumbrances of the name and form world are discarded. The nature of heading fifth, the nature of Maya. The world is the product of Maya, which is the power of Brahma. Maya is itself is devoid of reality and is inferred from its effect. As fire is inferred from the flames, so also from the manifestations of Maya, and latter is inferred. Maya cannot be the ultimate real, since it has to depend even for its existence on the Sat. It cannot be identical with the real, for power and the possessor of power are not the same. Were the Shakti power identical with the Sat, then it would cease to be power or force as distinguished from the real. If the Shakti is asserted to be unreal, is it unreal in the sense of void, or is it unreal in the sense that it can be sublated? The Shakti cannot be Sunya, since the opponent himself has admitted that Sunya is an effect of Maya. Maya is anirvachaniya. It can be described neither as Sat nor as Asat. If Maya be of the nature of the real, is it different from or identical with the Sat? It is the distinct from the Sat. There would be two entities, thereby invalidating the tenets of the Advaita. If there be an other opposed to the Sat, the real would be limited and hence cease to be real. If it be declared that Maya is identical with the Sat, it has been shown how it is impossible for power and the possessor of power to be identical. Further, if there is no Maya as distinct from the Sat, there would be no need for wisdom to sublate it, no longing for liberation. If Maya be negated as Asat, it cannot be the cause of the cosmos, which is existence bhava. Maya can be defined neither as Sat nor as Asat. How can there be a middle ground between the real and the unreal? A thing must be either real or unreal. The contrary of the Sat is Asat, and that of the latter is the former. By stating that Maya is other than Sat, we do not posit unreality of it in the sense of empty nothingness. It is not real in the sense that it does not abide forever. That alone is real, which is not sublated at any time. Maya is sublated by light of wisdom, and so it cannot be real. At the same time, it is not unreal in the sense of non-being or sunya. Maya is existent but not real. It is riddled with contradictions. Unreal, the world is non-existent, it is not. Maya is a feature of the central reality, neither identical with nor different from it. It is neither real as Brahma nor unreal as the sky flower. In the words of scripture, there was in the beginning neither the Sat nor the Asat, but the darkness of Maya remained. How then did darkness exist? How can existence be predicated of Maya? How was Maya related to the Sat? There can be conjunctive relation only between two substances, that is substrates of attributes. Brahma is attributeless, and Maya, which is mixture of the three gunas, is of the nature of an attribute. Brahma cannot become the substrate of a quality. Hence, no conjunctive relation is possible between Brahma and Maya, between a substance and attribute, genus and species, doer and deed, material cause and its effect. There is the relation of inherence. Brahma is related to Maya in none of these ways, and so there can be no relation of inherence between them. Self relation is known as Tadamya Sambandha, or the relation of identity. Brahma and Maya are not identical. Between them, no Tadatya relation can exist because the scripture declares Brahma to be relationless. No real relation is possible between it and Maya. But just as there is an unreal relation between the sky and the blue color, there is a superimposed relation of identity between Brahma and Maya. This peculiar relation has been called anirvachaniya tadamya sambandha, undefinable relation of identity. Were Maya the same as Sunya, then it would be different from the Sat, creating a wedge in the real. In that case, the void as against the full, the Sunya as against the Sat, engaged in an external eternal conflict would be the ultimate truth. Maya has no self-existence, it is mithya but not sunya. Does Maya exist in the whole of Brahma or only a part thereof? It cannot cover the whole of Brahma since the Jnani's realization is of the Maya-less Brahma. If it is maintained that Maya occupies a part of the Brahma, then does the space occupied by nescience belong to Brahma as its part? Is that spatial attribute real or only an unreal superimposition? If it be real, the scripture which proclaims that Brahma is without parts would be invalid and Brahma itself would be finitized. If it be a superimposition, is it of the nature of the gross and the subtle universe, or of the nature of the Jiva and Isvara? Is it to be characterized as time, as Sunya, or as Maya, or it is any other thing different from than six categories? The spatial attribute of Maya cannot be identified with the universe, which is an effect of nescience. It cannot be of the nature of Jiva and Isvara, who are also limited by Maya. It cannot be time, which is manifestation of nescience, nor Sunya, which is mere void. It cannot be of the nature of Maya, since then it would lead to the fallacies of mutual dependence, circular reasoning, and indefinite regress. As there are no other alternatives, with nothing else can be spatial attribute be identified, hence space cannot even be superimposed on the spaceless Brahma. But from the point of view of empirical existence, Maya must be taken as remaining only in a part of Brahma. The Vedas declare that all these beings, sentient and non-sentient, form only one-fourth of Brahma, three-fourths of which are unobscured and self-effulgent. In the Gita, Sri Krishna observes that he exists supporting this whole universe by a portion of himself, pervading the whole world. He is 10 inches in excess. As the Sutra of Brihadaranya puts it, Brahma transcends the cosmos, which is but an effect, a modification. Though Brahma is without parts and undivided, it seems to be divided and possessed of parts due to the unreal superimposition of Maya. Scripture, which desires the welfare of the aspirant, answers him who asks whether Maya occupies the whole or part of Dharma in his own language, superimposing particularly on the universal reality. Sixth heading, the function of Maya. The Maya Shakti, which is grounded in the Sat, superimposes modification on it. It views out the phenomenal world to veil the real truth. The modes of Maya hide the unconditioned absolute. The attributes of the elements, which are the principal modes, are superimposed on the Sat. Maya perverts the real and makes it predicate of the elements. Lay people attributes partiality to the Sat, and the Tarkikas perceive reality in ether. This perversion is the work of Maya, but through discriminative inquiry, the Sat is differentiated from ether and other elements, and the delusion of mutual superimposition is destroyed. The Sat and the ether are different, separated from the Sat. Ether is unreal like the dream elephant. It appears, but but is not real. If it is said that ether, which is differentiated from the real, is of the nature of space, then because it is contrary to the sat, it must be characterized as asat. Space is not real, but is contradictory appearance. It is different from the sat in sound and sense. When through concentration, revelation, and un, un, and reasoning, we discriminate clearly between ether and reality. Ether would cease to appear as real, and the Sat would no longer seem to be spatial. By the statement that ether is different from Brahma, we do not predicate of ether any exclusive existence. Ether consists of two parts, the real and the unreal. By sublating the unreal in it, ether is seen to be an oppositional relation with the Sat, but then ether ceases to be ether, for the Sat alone exists. Through Badshah opposition by sublation, the non-dual state is reached. Like ether, the other elements, air, fire, water, and earth, are also unreal superimpositions on the Sat and can be discriminated from it. Through rational inquiry and verbal testimony, when Maya and its creations are recognized to be mithya, the Sat is realized to be non-dual and eternal. The Vedantin does not deny to the world its phenomenal existence. Empirical, there are differences in the world. The Vyavaharika life cannot thrive without the particularity and partitions that are to be found in the universe. He agrees with the other schools of thought in saying that for all practical purposes differences do exist, plurality of the pragmatic value, but it has no transcendental validity. Seventh heading, liberation in life. Jivan Mukti or liberation in life is the fruit of this discriminative inquiry. Though to all outward appearance the released one engages himself in the affairs of the world, he is never oblivious of his identity with Brahma. One who is established firmly in the Sat is released from the shackles of the body. He is also a Videha Mukta. Attaining this steadfastness, the Purusha is not deluded. Retaining this steadfastness in the self, in the Antakala last moment, he reaches Brahma Nirvana or merge into Brahma. The word Antakala of the Gita does not mean the death event of the body. The distinction of the dual vision with realization of non-dual reality is here referred to as the last moment, or let the word be taken to signify the end of the physical body. Even at the time of departure from the mortal coil, there is no return for the realized soul to the delusion which has already been dispelled. His wisdom suffers nothing when his body decays. The body does not bind him, nor does mind mold him. He is ever free. As he is liberated in terrestrial life, so does he remain released even when he relinquishes it. He is ever centered in the self, unaffected by the onslaught of Maya. There is no more ignorance for him, no more delusion. The light of wisdom sublets the veiling power of Maya and destroys it. But owing to Prarabdha, the power of projection, though sublated, is not destroyed. When the Prarabdha perishes, even this trace of nescience vanishes. The Jivan Mukta lives in the world but is not of it. The world does not worry him and his empirical outfit does not corrupt him. Moksha is a condition and not to be attained after death, but to be realized here and now. if one so wills, release is a realization of the self. Knowledge which is acquired through permanence, like Tattvamasi, can be destroyed only by a greater Pramana than a greater authority than the Vedanta is nowhere to be had. Perception is blind and conception empty. Neither of them can reveal the self. Brahma knowledge cannot be induced to the syllogistic form. The real was there already. It is not a creation of the effort of man, a manufacture of the human mind. The real was there actually confronting us. It was not conjured out of resources of the mind. The Kena Upanishad says that it is other than the known and above the unknown. The Supreme Brahma is not an object presented to knowledge, since it is the very condition of the possibility of knowledge. The eye does not go thither, not speech nor mind. Pratyaksha and Anumana, perception and reasoning fail to take us to the truth. It is only through intuitive insight that the real can be realized. Self-realization, which is the fruit of such intuition, suffers no destruction even in the throes of bodily death. The once freed is eternally free. So I end this video here. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Next video number 4 will start with chapter number 3, inquiry into the 5 seats of Panchakosha Viveka Prakarana. Namaskar my dear friends. Thank you. Namaskar.